I also want to share with you a word of update and gratitude for these last 2 weeks in our denomination. I want to thank you personally for all the prayers that you've been offering for the United Methodist Church and for those of us, like myself, who've had the privilege of serving as one of over 800 delegates in Charlotte, North Carolina, gathering from all around the world to take up the important matters of our denomination. We ended last Friday night, just 2 days ago, with great gratitude for what God is doing for the future of this church. I want to share with you just a few major updates, things that you probably have heard or not have heard about what happened in Charlotte over the last 2 weeks. The first priority for all of us, many of us going in, was to restructure the denomination in terms of its relationship with United Methodists around the world. It's something called regionalization that would enable people, United Methodists in different countries, to agree together on the basic core beliefs and the essentials of United Methodism, but to feel free to apply and minister those beliefs based on the context where they find themselves around the world. It's called regionalization. It was going in. We had the highest voting threshold we needed to clear in order to pass that major hurdle. We needed 66%, 2/3 of the General Conference to agree on it. And it passed earlier in the General Conference, right in week 1, by 78%. And so we're very grateful to have that major piece that will now go through a 2-year ratification process before that becomes official. The second of the 3 legislative priorities was in revising our social principles, which is our standard positions on many of the major issues that we as a church speak into that we face around the world. It contained the language that homosexuality is incompatible with Christian teaching. It's a phrase that's been in there for 52 years, but has been there to really be a very hard thing for many people in the church to live with. By an overwhelming majority, the revised social principles was passed, and so that phrase is now finally and officially stricken from the vocabulary of United Methodism. And along with that came many, many policy changes that move us into a new way of being the church. It includes lifting the ban against LGBTQ persons from becoming ministers in our church. It's the piece of legislation that my committee in particular had been working on for the past 6 months, and that was lifted, along with the ban against clergy of doing weddings for LGBTQ persons. Both of these pieces were adopted by overwhelming majorities as well. And so, friends, there is so much more to report, and in the coming days, I will be doing that. First, through a midweek message that I'll be putting out this week to give you a fuller list of lots of the exciting things that happened. So if you haven't subscribed to my midweek message, you can find a link to subscribe in our Next Steps page. This Tuesday, there will be a webinar that you can join in via Zoom, where I have been asked to moderate a panel and ask questions of our bishop and our 2 delegation heads, where they will be able to share with you in fuller detail all that we experienced as a denomination. And so that will be Tuesday night at 6 o'clock. So if you go to our Next Steps page, you'll see a link to go to the conference website, where at 6 o'clock this Tuesday, I'll be hosting that webinar, and you'll get all of the full detail that you'll want to hear for our annual conference. But I want to thank you for the prayers, thank you for the support, and friends, I think it's fair to say this is a new day for the United Methodist Church. So, before I offer the benediction, I also want to offer a pastoral word. I know that there isn't universal agreement throughout the denomination and even in this church about things that have happened, about this or any other items that we passed. So I want you to know, I acknowledge that we are all on a journey here, and we are not necessarily of the same mind on some of these things. So if you have any questions at all, both in celebration or in discernment and questioning, please feel free to contact me or Sally or Justin. We are all on this journey toward perfection. And really, all of us are included and welcome in the love of God. So I invite you to stand now for the benediction. It comes to us from a prayer book that I use every day during this year, and the quote is from the hymn writer Ruth Duck, who wrote a hymn called "We Humans Build to Frame a Life." And given what we experienced at General Conference, this seems like an appropriate way to close. Let's receive the benediction. Let faithful souls from rubble rise to find new ways from sorrow, and slowly form a shape to welcome God's tomorrow. Let's welcome God's tomorrow today. Go in peace. Amen.